There are a few countries that are very well known for producing top-notch motorcycles that are popular all over the world. Japan is one, America, England, Italy, and Germany are a few of the others. We also have a few newcomers to the world stage, like China with CF Moto and India with Royal Enfield. Now, I say newcomers, but that's not really true. They've been building motorcycles since the dawn of time, it seems, but they've only recently started to make inroads into the Western motorcycle market, generally dominated by the countries I mentioned previously. Now, India and China are massive countries with huge infrastructures there that can devote considerable amounts of cash for motorcycle R&D, and they're hungry to get into America and Europe because that's where the money is for motorcycle enthusiasts. But what about the other big country that spans from Europe to Asia? What about Russia? Its current socio-political climate aside, why hasn't Russia been able to contribute to the motorcycling world like China and India has? If you're any kind of motorcycle fan, you may be familiar with the sidecar. Three-wheel motorcycles are nothing new, and just about every manufacturer had given it a go at some point or another. Some of the more obvious examples are Harley-Davidson, who to this day continue to make trikes. And then there's Ural, which is the only mainstream motorcycle brand that makes a factory-produced sidecar motorcycle. But what is Ural, and where do they come from? You may or may not be surprised to find out that it is a Russian manufacturer with a long history of making motorcycles, from the heyday of the Soviet Union to the modern time. And yes, you can't find these being sold all over the United States, with their headquarters located in Redmond, Washington of all places. Some brands have become synonymous with the countries they're made in. Triumph is British, Harley is American, BMW is German, Honda is Japanese. The same can be said for the Ural. They are by far the most famous Russian motorcycle brand, but they're certainly not the only one. Russia, and the Soviet Union in particular, had contributed quite a bit to the motorcycle industry. But like anything that seems to come out of that country, it certainly hasn't been without its controversies. Here's a close-up of a typical Ural sidecar. And here's a BMW R71. These two have very little in common, except for one important thing: the Boxer twin engine. So the main controversy that continues to dog Ural to this day is that they'd stolen the Boxer engine plans from BMW during the post-World War II looting that happened in Germany by the Allies. But like anything in this world that appears to be black and white, the real story is never that simple. In fact, the Soviet Union pre-World War II had a trade agreement with Germany to import or license all sorts of goods. Some of these goods were motorcycle and motorcycle components. In particular, the BMW R71 seems to be the inspiration for the Russian Dnieper M72, which featured the side valve Boxer engine. But even that explanation is steeped in controversy, as some historians indicate that R71 models were actually purchased covertly by the Russians and subsequently reverse engineered into the M72. See? Not so simple. But the Soviet Union didn't just rely on the M72 for their motorcycle needs. They had been building V-twins and side valve bikes for the military way before World War II was even on the horizon. And that's really the thing here. Unlike other countries that had motorcycles available for civilians, Soviet bikes of the time were primarily made for the military. It wasn't until World War II was over that civilians in the USSR had gotten their bikes in earnest. Post-war, a bunch of motorcycle factories began to sprout all over the USSR. Though the government had created a centralized bureaucracy to control production needs, each of these factories seemed to be mostly independent and were able to create their own models. You had your GMZs, IMZs, which is Ural, IZHs, KMZs, ZIDs, MMSs, producing everything from dog-slow 125cc two-stroke singles to 750cc flat twin four-strokes capable of 36 horsepower. All this to say that Russians were finally given the opportunity to use motorcycles however they wanted. Need a rugged bike to haul stuff around in the farmland? We got you. Need a fun bike to zip around Moscow? We got you too. Some of these early bikes also made it to the West. And in England, they'd found themselves a small but devoted fan base. The Ural made its way there certainly, but other bikes were being imported there as well under the Cossack brand. But beyond this small die-hard following, these bikes were not especially successful in the UK, with the press mostly brutalizing them for their haphazard craftsmanship, lack of features, and poor performance. That poor performance didn't stop the USSR from entering and producing different motorcycle competitions. The sport of speedway, which is similar in a way to flat track racing, had come to the Soviet Union via communist racers from England. Ice speedway had become popular in the northern regions of the USSR, where some of the same racers used studded tires to run their bikes on ice. Soviet riders had also participated in off-road racing, achieving world championship success in the 60s and 70s. There were oddities like the motorball, which was exactly how it sounds, soccer on a bike, and of course multiple Soviet teams entered road racing competitions throughout the world, though they found far less success there than their off-road teammates did. Much like its car scene, USSR motorcycles were mostly outdated carbon copies of Western or Japanese bikes. And though its partner China was in a similar boat, lately they've been making great strides with brands like CF Moto. Same cannot be said for Russian bikes, as the only one that's really around on a global stage in any way is Ural, a company that produces bikes outside of Russia with tech that's older than Royal Enfield's and is owned by Russians living in America. Sure, there are other modern Russian motorcycle brands, but you'd be hard-pressed to name any of them. So how come a country that was responsible for sending the first person into space and is seemingly full of motorcycle enthusiasts is okay with coasting on someone else's outdated technology and adding almost nothing to the motorcycle culture other than a sidecar? Most of the information and a lot of the photos in this video I got from this book, Motorcycles and Motorcycling in the USSR by Colin Turbot. And if you're interested in getting a bit more in depth on Russian motorcycles, grab yourself a copy. It's a pretty fascinating read for motorcycle and history buffs. Thanks for stopping by. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and if you'd like to see more of this type of content on this channel. Please comment, like, and subscribe to help my channel grow. Until next time, ride safe.